Stand by. All right, I'm seeing us on YouTube. And here we go. Hey everybody, welcome to the wrong end of the snake. It's a webcast about audio, touring, and the relationships we have built between our road families that will be reunited soon. Tater and I have had an 18-year relationship on the wrong end of the snake with bands like Ted Nugent, Kid Rock, Slash, Stone Temple Pilots, Prophets of Rage, Iron Maiden, and most notably 10 years with Linkin Park. My co-host, Kevin Tater McCarthy, is a world-class monitor engineer with over 30 years in the business. I'm very proud to call him my friend and my partner. He has 8 Top Dog Monitor Engineer of the Year awards and 2 Parnelli Monitor Mixer of the Year awards. I'm Ken Van Druten, aka Pooch. I'm a front house engineer with 3 decades in the music industry. I'm a 3-time Grammy-nominated recording engineer. I have 8 Top Dog Front of House Engineer of the Year awards, and I am a winner of the Parnelli Front of House Mixer of the Year award. Let's do a little bit of housekeeping. Please use the chat window of the Zoom app to communicate amongst yourselves. If you are streaming from our YouTube channel and you want to get in on the action, register to be on the Zoom call for future episodes. There are links to register in all of our social media. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the Zoom app and ask in that window. We will answer as many as possible during the hour, but afterwards we'll take some questions as well. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and social media. YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook is at Wrong End of the Snake. Tater, why don't you introduce us to our guests this week?
All righty, thank you. Both of these gentlemen work for Waves, the world's leading developer of audio plugins and signal processors based in Tel Aviv, Israel. Noam Raz started working for AV companies in the early 2000s, while also freelancing as a system tech and front-of-house engineer. In 2009, he joined Waves as a tech support rep, and now is the head of sales and marketing for the entire live sound division. Let's welcome Noam.
Hey, Noam.
Hey, Noam.
Hello.
We also have Yaniv Litmanovich. He's been with Waves for 17 years. He has served many roles there, including Director of Product Management, Product Manager for the Emotion LV1 live mixing console, and the product Manager for many well-known plugins like H-Delay, CLA, Artist Series, GEQ, NLS, L3LL, MV2, UM226, and many more. Lately, he has a large role in the SoundGrid infrastructure and device design and development. Let's welcome Yaniv.
Yaniv! Yay! I feel like we need to up our production value and get some sort of audience claps going on every time we introduce people. But
Clap
maybe
track.
we'll work on that.
Clap track.
Thanks for coming, guys. You know, both of you guys we've had, a long relationship with as friends. And we're so super stoked to have you guys here, and introduce you to, some people out there that want to know more about like what's going on with Waves. But also, talk to you guys a little bit about audio and hanging out and, all those kind of things. So, why don't we just kind of to just get an idea, we got a little bit in the first part of that, where you guys came from as far as sound goes, but were you guys, both of you guys musicians, or how did it come about that you found a passion for sound? Noam?
I've been playing in my youth trombone.
Trombone, that's awesome.
And guitar a little bit. But the bug for audio I've catched while setting up projection screens for concerts.
So you were a video
You're claiming
guy.
You're a video guy. I like that.
I was doing video walls before LED screens, all of that. So yes, and fell in love with the concerts and with everything around the live show. That's exactly where this all started.
Awesome. How about you, Yaniv? Where'd you catch the bug?
Well, with audio and music, it's early on, but it was like kind of a hobby and getting those hi-fis and those unique devices. That was a early team. But then I kind of, like Noam, I ended up in an AV company quite early on, and I built some broadcast studio. And the audio room in those studios was usually my special and my baby kind of thing, and big consoles, and I fell in love with consoles there.
You fell in love with the equipment. Well, that's, that came along for me too. For me, being an audio engineer is the best combination of being musician and with music, but then the technology side of it is really something that I love as well. And I know that both of you guys that, you both work at Waves. And so, boy, you guys are on the cusp of technology for sure. Did you guys ever think that you would end up at Waves? Was Waves, was Waves something that you guys were aspiring to, or did both of you kind of just fall into it?
Well, I can say that while I was after some years in this AV business, I went ahead and pushed on and went to study sound engineering at SAE. And the guys there told me, yeah, we had this guy from Israel, and he went on back to Israel, and he worked for Waves. And yeah, it took a while. It took a few years, but it kind of happened to me. And the funny thing was that I started at Waves in tech support for a while, and then in QA. And when I arrived at product management, it was replacing that guy that I was told about, SAE.
Oh, no.
And he moved to study some more about programming and
Now, is tech support where everybody kind of goes into first?
a lot at Waves start from tech support. It's kind of a doorway into Waves land, and we have a lot of talented people all over the company, in many high ranked and mid and all over the place places in the company that have started at tech support. And I think it's a great experience, because you start off from getting in touch with the people, and trying to help them is really getting very intimate with people, with actual users, and then you go on and develop or support or try to manage how to get to those people, market to those people. So it's a good experience.
It's interesting. Both of you guys are kind of on different spectrums at Waves, right? Noam, you're in charge of the whole live sound division, and you deal with sales and also some dealing with artists and all those kind of things. Whereas Yaniv, you're way more kind of dealing with the nerdy code writers, right? Those are the people that you're talking to, correct?
Right. It's like Noam is really getting in touch with users, and I'm getting in touch with the developers, and we kind of need to bridge that information to both directions. So we get to sync a lot.
It's actually a different, opposite direction in a way. I'm from within the company towards the client, the market space, and basically what Yaniv is in charge of is bringing the requirements from the market towards development in a way. So it's really, and we meet somewhere in between in my home office from time to time now.
That's crazy. How many employees are at Waves?
Something around 200 people.
Oh, wow.
200.
Yeah.
And just so everybody knows, where are the locations at, and where's around the world, where are they at?
So sales is, and our logistic center is based in Knoxville, Tennessee, in the US, where the research and development marketing is based in Tel Aviv. So these are the main centers, and we have quite few contractors working outside, but Tel Aviv and Knoxville are the main bases for us.
And then where does Wave service Asia out of?
Through our reps and channel dealers, we have all across, basically.
Now, I know that things have kind of changed a little bit with COVID. Everybody is really not going to buildings here in the US. Most people are staying at home and doing things like what we're doing right now, this Zoom call. Is that what's happening with Waves right now? Did you guys go into the office? What's happening in Israel right now with COVID anyway?
Yeah, it's there have been ups and downs, but in general, the company is working from home. Started even before the global or the Israeli mandatory limitations. So we've early on went back home and set up everything at home. And now we're permitted to go very rarely to the office to take some stuff. There's only a certain amount of people that are allowed to be in the floor.
And how does the productivity, you think, while you're working at home? You think you're as productive at home as you are when you're at the headquarters?
I think in many aspects, yes. It's overall it's good productivity because a lot of the development in Israel is coding or designing. So it's essentially things that you can do from your home as long as you have the facility at home, a room and a table.
And Yaniv, I know that you have a large family with young kids. How is that working from home with all the kids running around?
Well, yeah, where they have something to do, so I get to be in the house. But yeah, I either get shut in a room or run outside to the yard and have all the meetings from the phone.
You got the meetings happening in your garden. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Hey, Yaniv, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you specifically is I know that, we mentioned that you're in product development. So you have direct contact and you kind of oversee the coders who are actually writing the software for Waves. And I know that you had a huge involvement with the LV1. And I want to know from your background, you came as a sound guy and you worked for an AV company, but did you have any learning about how to write code in your past?
Well, I got to code a little bit at school, but not something more fancy than that. But I learned off, the Waves code to get my head around it. But I don't really deal with code architecture and all that. We have some other very experienced people that's what they do, including our CTO, which is overseeing all our code. It is a unique thing, but it's great that we have that. So I get to kind of bridge between the requirements or the way that people will perceive how we would do things, and then there are some ways to implement the requirements. Everything has implications, so we need to deal with how coding this way or the other would affect other requirements, other features, service, and all that. So constantly we are looking out to all those parameters and kind of steer how we can develop and expand the system, because this is what we're doing especially with the SoundGrid world, which it's been crazy decade, right? That's
totally, yeah, it's amazing.
Evolving. It's been great looking at it from the inside, even zooming out. And
now, when you were developing LV1, did you think it would take the life that it's taken? Do you think did it go beyond what you thought? Because I mean, people are mixing big shows and stuff on it now. Was that what it was geared towards, or?
Well, we did want it to happen, and LV1 was perceived and designed to be very utility kind of a tool that can fit anyone, be it a very large show or a very compact and managed show. I was very surprised that early on we had very big shows that adopted the LV1, and it was like okay. I was thinking it would take a little bit more time, but you know what we did do in LV1 is something very, very good about the sound, and that kind of always keeps us very strong with this product, and helping it evolve. And a lot of what happened in LV1 was really about a lot of talks I had with great engineers like Mr. Pooch right here.
Oh, thank you, man.
Which inspired a lot of the definitions for this product, because I was coming into this project with experience in broadcast and the way that broadcast consoles work, and I was digging into the live and the rock and roll kind of concerts more and more deep into with the first project I got in product management, which was integrating with venue back then. So I learned a lot about live sound, and from that point, talking with you, Pooch, and with Eran Ben-Tzur, we kind of together formed this thing that is keeping and growing up, and many of the features that we eventually add came along with requests from people that
Now, no, you get all those requests because you're talking out there to the public and the engineers. And I've seen a lot of great and not so great LV1 packaging. People putting the screens in different cases and all that kind of stuff. Is Waves offering anything, or is Waves endorsing anything? Or because there's some, I mean, I've seen some not so good stuff, and I've seen some really, really, really good stuff as far as packaging the LV1.
There are various, mainly dealers that has got the information from us even before we released some of the units and designed an appropriate packaging. So there are in every continent at this stage, we have at least one or two suppliers that can provide the full package. In the US, there are quite few amazing packages that blew our mind when we saw them. So at this stage, when we released the LV1, we've seen some had difficulties with that. So at this stage, this is not the case. Everywhere you are as an end client, a company that would like to get a system, there's someone that can package it for you.
Now, I know OCD Labs. I'm not saying you endorse them or not, but I know they make a very nice, very, very nice LV1 package. So that was one that I saw that I was impressed. But it's got to be cool to develop a product that takes off enough where other people are doing all this great stuff with it. You know what I mean? Like, not that you'd ever thought would take off like that. And it's got to be cool and exciting to be a part of that. So.
Yeah, I think that some of the involvement of this project led on to bringing some more products that help creating this LV1 experience with different devices. But at the end of the day, it's for you to build your own console, like how you want it to be. And this is a very, it's an advantage to a lot of people.
I call it, for lack of a better term, but I call it open source hardware, in the sense of, it's like a bunch of people just doing all kinds of crazy shit with it, and then everyone going, oh man, I really like that, and then, making a decision to use it in whatever way. And I kind of really like that is the way that Waves went with it, is to allow you to do whatever you want with it. It's a piece of software that, and some hardware pieces, obviously, but it's a piece of software really that allows you to be super flexible about whatever you want to do. I want to back up just a little bit, because our thing is always about relationships. That's why we started this podcast. And it's awesome that we're talking about gear specifically. But Yaniv, I kind of want to pick your brain just a little bit more about you being a product manager and overseeing a team of people and how that works. Like, how are you? You're the conduit of how many people are working underneath you at any given one time, let's say in the LV1 project?
So first at Waves, we're working in a way that there are teams that do a lot of projects. So it's kind of, the management is not direct in this kind of sense, but and there is for example, we get an idea to do a plugin or a feature in one of the software. So we'd have that reviewed, kind of designed basically, and reviewed by our product management team. And then we take it to some external circles where we talk to a lot of people that some beta testers and marketing people, sales people, and developers, and really understand what this project is about. And when we got the idea and we understand that we can do it, and with this and that resources and all that, so we go ahead and try. Actually, we very fast get to some place that we get some sort of a proof of concept for that idea, and we play around with it while really understanding how to make it efficient and all that. In the programming side, we can tweak it with if it's a plugin, then a product manager at Waves is usually a sound engineer, and we get to really tweak the sound for each plugin that we do. So that's a work that takes a lot of iterations, a lot of trying out and doing things that you can tweak, and then asking for changes in the code that can allow you to do some more, and ping and pong like that. And then
so it sounds like there's a lot of moving parts, right? There's teams of individual things all kind of working on their own thing, and then they all come together in the end to have a thing. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, because there's a lot of projects. There's a lot of products at Waves, and at any given time we work on a lot of products. So there'll be typically teams by products, and those teams are actually each are comprised of people that belong to a bigger team, right? So a team would have a product manager and a marketing product manager and a software project manager and all that, and actual programmers and graphic designers and content writers. And
I don't think that people really know how much work goes into a new release, and how long were you working on LV1 from like proof of concept until release? It was several years at least, right?
Yeah, I think that about 5 years it took. Yeah.
Amazing, right? So 5 years, guys, 5 years before you even knew about LV1, there was teams of people working on something to develop it. So yeah, that's pretty amazing.
So Noam, the product gets out there, and let's just say that the gain knob is at the top of the fader or the top of the screen, and people want it at the bottom, or there's always something somebody's saying something about. You got to hear about it all the time. Where do you, if you think it's legit or not, where do you go with those kind of concerns?
So first of all, my job is to listen carefully to every feedback.
Great answer. Great answer, by the way.
I'm with me and Yaniv, we actually discussed about it a lot and how to even get information. I can tell now, specifically about LV1, that every feedback that I have got through marketing, sales activities, it's all going to a pool of features, and then by its demand gets priorities. With the LV1, I was pretty much, in the beginning, we've spoken about it, astonished by the acceptance, at least of the layout. And we discussed a lot about the layout with consultants before it was released. So in a way, I think we managed to invest resources before the release, specifically about LV1, but there are requests, a lot, and we get them, and it's with us. And slowly, gradually, basically released. Part of the real bosses of this project is the client base. That's how I see it.
So you do take those requests and they do go somewhere when engineers or end users do give comments then.
Definitely. We get those comments in, and we get the requests in, and we many times as we get them, kind of sort them out and write them down, get them into our task database. They can come from Noam or sales in general, but they also come from beta testers and people that, advisors. It's coming from no, I mean like from plugin land in the studio. You can get a feature for LV1. And the other way around. So this is, by the way, this is something that's going on. The kind of linking that studio world and the live world. Maybe it's kind of a cliche, kind of got into a cliche, that sentence, but it's a real thing, and I think it's a real it's a kind of a different story to do a live show with plugins and the time that you got back at home, like laying it all out and listening and tweaking those channels, those processors, and then getting at the front of house or at the stage, and with all the different things that you need to handle, because every day is a different day, you're so much more confident in what you can do, and you have a lot of where to go, and it's all right here.
Now, Noam, while we're kind of on this subject about the end users, let's go into which I think is fantastic, and it's one of the reasons we've had a relationship with Waves so long, is their customer service. Maybe people out there don't know, they know Waves is based in Tel Aviv, but you've now mentioned Knoxville, how service works and how to call in and all that stuff, because we know how great your service is. Maybe you can explain how it works and what the process is.
So we have a tech support center based in Tel Aviv, covers 7 days a week, most of the days 20 hours. This was actually, we got into working in 7 days a week due to live requirements. At some point we changed that when we started to get those phone calls. The reps are trained to answer all of the questions on a basic level, but there is a rep for live, not one, actually, few of them, but everyone that has a question about live sound will get to a specialized technical support rep. At this stage, it's pretty much a fairly large group.
Yeah, you know what I like about it is something really simple about your service is, like, let's just say I call my cell phone provider and the first person can't help me and they take you to the next, which is legit. The first person can't always help you. Then the next person takes it on, the next person takes it on. I seem to have to explain my story to everyone down the line. But when I do that with Waves and the first person says, hey, I need to pass this along, or maybe he's off or something, I never have to re-explain anything. I seem to already know. I don't have to go over anything again. They seem to take the problem right up where it left off if we have to go to a different service rep or a different agent. So I always think that's fantastic at Waves. Never having to repeat yourself. Okay, got a problem here. And then no matter who's answering, it gets handled without having to repeat yourself 1,000 times.
Thank you. Good to know. It's a method that we basically practiced over the years. But at this stage, it's part of what we do. Maintaining the information about the case, and actually sometimes about productions. We can get information about the production before it hit the tour, and it's maintained as a knowledge base in our support team. So,
fantastic.
Getting back to talking a little bit about relationships, Noam, I met you through, I think he's probably you would call him one of your mentors, Asher Batansky. And how did Asher was involved with Waves, and what I saw in Asher was a true passion for audio, and that I think carries forward to pretty much everybody that I've ever met that works for Waves, has a passion for making better sounding things. Maybe speak to a little bit like how that whole came about. Like, how did you meet Asher, and how did that influence you in any way, or do you consider him a mentor, or who were your mentors?
I've been fortunate. First of all, about Asher, I can tell you that from time to time, when I have a question, he allows me to enter his office and I get his advices. Specifically about LV1, we had quite a few discussions. But I've been fortunate to have a lot of mentors. I'm actually acquiring them as I meet them, like you.
Great.
I was since young. I'm not sure kid, but I was walking on stages as whatever, the guy that would hook up the speaker or the video before. Asher was a known identity and very colorful also.
Yes.
So when I met him, I remember the first time I met him, but all the first years that I've seen him, I was actually the frightened kid somewhere in the back line, trying not to bump his way. He was managing big artists at that time. And then I met him at Waves. So he was part of my field experience as well as Waves.
I think he was involved early on with Waves, right? And the feeling of the passion of the audio was what drew me to Waves in particular. And I think it's kind of it's a company-wide feeling. I get the idea that when you guys hire people, even all the way to, to coders who don't really have any interaction with anybody, but they have lots of passion about sound in general, I feel like that is a thing at Waves. Is it? Am I correct?
I think it's a wide thing. Discussions about tubes, KT66, everyone knows, germanium transistors, whatever. It's part of our, I see it everywhere, even graphic designers. It's an obsession that in a good way drives us.
I think that most of the company, especially in the development sections, are in some way linked to music. Either they play an instrument and they even have a band that they play with, or they are very passionate about dancing or partying or building devices or DJing, and so a lot of people are part of what we are doing. So they're passionate. They know what it is. The main coder, the head coder of LV1, is also a sound engineer. He's also mixing at home his music, which he writes, and he's coding LV1, and that's been going on for a few long years. So the first bugs that get fixed are the bugs that you will run into mixing. So it's a really good thing that, you know, even there is a direct link between each product and the people that make it. It's always like that.
Yeah, it's something that I've noticed over the years for sure. And also, you know, getting back to what Tater was talking about with the tech support and the response to me of you guys, I know you have to prioritize the thousands of requests that you get. You know, we've been talking about LV1, so let's just continue down that road. I'm sure there are thousands of things that people are like passionate about. Hey, I don't like the way that the, you know, I can't think of anything. I don't like the way that the grouping is, or, you know, whatever. You guys have to weed through all of that and decide what is a priority. But what I have noticed is that there is quick response to that, right? So it seems, I can't remember recently, but it seems like you guys have released some pretty major version updates of LV1 that all had like things that addressed those things, correct?
Yeah, we try to do in each LV1 update to get a major, let's say, infrastructure or enabler to the software, and to get as many features that are not huge. They're never small though. But
on your end, they're never small for sure.
But we try to get as much of those features in. So there's a balance between big steps and, you know, baby steps, but they all need to be addressed, because those little things they can mean you know, a whole lot when you do it. So yeah.
I noticed just lately there's a iPad control now for LV1.
Right. Yeah. So recently we have released an iPhone, iPad, Android, a compatible software that can link to LV1 and provide the artist on stage control for LV1. So yeah, so you can have a lot of those decisions about creating that personal mix for each one on stage. People can give their input. Now, you as a monitor engineer can always have that overview and supervise, and, you know, you can even bypass them if need be.
Different permissions, yeah.
But it's something that allows everyone, you know, a real hold on what's going on. So it connects artists as well. And it's in the spirit of LV1. It's very, very straightforward, and it's a cool app. It's called Maimon.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, one of the things, you know, whatever, I don't want to turn this into an hour talking about LV1 in particular, but since you are the product manager, you know, one of the things that I've always thought was great about LV1 was forget the Waves plugins. Like, take all of the plugins out of LV1 and just send signal through LV1 through a group and sum some things together, and you will be a true believer. I just have noticed that the summing and the overall, just the sound of stuff without plugins is superior to most of the things, certainly in the price range that you guys are in. And just in general, I think it's a great sounding thing. So guys out there, if you don't know anything, you know, I don't want to turn this into an LV1 commercial, but if you haven't tried it, please go. I'm telling you. You know, I tell people all the time, I say, listen, I don't get an opportunity to work with many bands that are under 64 inputs. But when I do, you know, in my top list of desks that I want to use is the LV1 for sure. Hey, Noam, one of the things that I really admire about you, you know, since we're friends, so we talk all the time. You guys should know that. And I love Noam. He's an amazing person outside of his passion for things at Waves. But one of the things I admire about you, Noam, is your ability to have balance in your life. Your life must be incredibly crazy with the amount of people that want to get a hold of you and have a moment with you. But I know that you take time and do stuff like paddleboard and surf. And I'm always like, I wish I was more of a guy that had that balance in my life. So tell me where that comes from.
It comes from, first of all, at Waves, I don't have an office. So I'm working from home, and it's all about trying to achieve as much as you can. So we are sitting here in my home office. It looks like a Corona style office. You've got here everything, even fax machine. And so this is how I do stuff for the last decade. I have time. I'm here. If I'm in Israel and we have good conditions, I wake up at 5, go to the beach and start the morning, 8 o'clock, I'm office mode. So it's just about, I guess, not sleeping a lot.
Well, I know Yaniv, I mean, Yaniv, I admire you too. You have a large family and you are the same. I know you go surfing and stuff too, right?
Well, I try, but it doesn't really happen a lot. So whenever it does happen, and I do get a small break, then going down the beach would be the first option. I now live in a place where we have a really nice fountain kind of thing, and it's like it's not really a wood, but it's like a stream kind of thing. It's really close to my home, so if I get a few minutes of air, then I would go there.
Now, I'd like to set the record straight here. You guys are all, everybody probably thinks the Waves offices are, you know, no one wants to be there and everything, but I got to tell you, from the times I've been there in Tel Aviv, their view out of that your office building is quite incredible. So let's let everybody know that the Waves main headquarters is very nice also.
Yeah, the main headquarters is really, it's in the center of Tel Aviv. We get the cool view of, you know, being in a huge tower in the center of Tel Aviv. I kind of miss the office in a lot of aspects. I've been there maybe 2 times in this whole 3-4 months. But and it's very strange in there right now. It's like empty building. But yeah, it's really nice. It's really nice, and it's usually a cool place where whenever a big band is coming to Israel to perform, we invite sound engineers to the Waves office. Just, you know, get a cup of coffee, have a tour with us, maybe grab a beer later on, and you know, check out the guys, the developers, all the equipment we have, the nice things that we can talk about, and all that. So when we finally can get to a show again, and shows will finally get back to Israel, then people, please, you should call Noam or me, and
absolutely, you should go visit these guys. It's definitely an amazing place.
I've got a quick question.
Go ahead.
I want to put him on the spot here real quick. This is something that I've always wondered. I know you're considered mainly a software company, but you've got hardware pieces out there. How come Waves has never made a switch?
How come we never made a switch? Well, there are switches in some products that was made in partnership, but the switch is very complex device. We have SoundGrid switch coming from DS Pro.
Yes.
Which is developed by DS Pro, but they have doing some of the development cycles with our support and QA and advisement, and so that's going to be a nice switch.
Excellent, fantastic.
Yeah, the future is ahead of us.
Yeah, so you opened the Pandora's box. What is the future? Can you share anything with us in Waves that you have coming down? That's obviously you guys have hundreds of things that you're developing or whatever. But is there something coming out soon that you'd like to tell us about?
I can say that, well, this year had a lot of cool stuff coming in. And Corona changed a little bit of all that enthusiasm, but we did get to a lot of important milestones for us and for our users. SoundGrid Studio was released with a really grand new look and feel and capabilities. And
I can show.
And with Studio Rack, this is.
Oh yes.
Oh wait, lift that up just a little more. There you go.
There
Hold
you
on.
go.
Hold on. Let me hold that. Keep holding that up. I'm going to put a gallery view on so you can see it. There you go. Oh, look at that thing. Amazing. So guys, that's your tactile control for LV1.
Right.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Exactly. Yes.
Actually, if I can give a direction, this year we will see some peripherals, such as the switch and a controller that was designed specifically for the live mix. And it's part of, actually was very demanded, those specifically 2 units. And they are going to be released soon.
Fantastic.
So, I think, future would have nice things, more nice things like that. And from software world, I would see more capabilities, more tools that would be added now to our 3 big hosts for plugins and audio routing, which is the LV1, SoundGrid Studio, and SuperRack. SuperRack is mainly about adding processing, but it's like this huge tool that can do so much more and be linked with LV1 and SoundGrid Studio. So there's a whole ecosystem that is being built up and expanding always, all the time. And
that's exciting. One of the other people, I mentioned Asher before. One of the other people that I love so much at Waves is Gil Wasserman, and you must have a lot of interaction with him because he is the product developer for SoundGrid and SuperRack, correct? Yes,
he is, and I can say proudly that he is my mentor for product management, and really, really smart guy. And SuperRack, SoundGrid, doing all that and evolving. We had multi-rack, and it evolved into this new SuperRack, which is a really new game. And I think that what he has done leading the company in this decade for SoundGrid is great. From that notion that plugins should be used also in a live world, and really doing and providing that in so many ways right now. And we're integrated to every console out there. We can be integrated through this device or the other, right? And as soon
It's
as
amazing the evolution of it is what's amazing, right? You know, I was lucky enough to participate in the kind of the very first interaction between Digico and SoundGrid, and Gil was there, and it was like, you know, everybody was not sure if it was going to work. We were at a demo in front of I don't know 100 European distributors, and for the very first time we're demoing all the stuff. And I just know that from then it's been very exciting. All of the stuff that's happened since then, you know, and like you mentioned, the whole evolution of SuperRack. If you guys haven't changed over from from multi-rack to SuperRack, then you should, because it's amazing. Cool. Hey, you know, there's a couple questions that we always like to ask our guys. We're kind of coming up on the end here, but one of the things is, if you could turn back time and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you tell your 18-year-old self?
Wow. I don't know. It's a good one. It's a good one.
I would start immediately to go to the beach every day and learn to surf, and not cut my teeth at age of 40 trying to make it.
Trying to learn how to surf when you're 40? Got it.
I could start even before, but if I get a chance at 18, yeah.
Yeah, I can agree that more sports, more on actual playing music would be something. Hey, you should do that. Just a tad more.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's about, I would go back and tell myself that there are some things that are not important in life, right? There are things that are way more important in life, like family and friends and relationships, that when I was 18, I didn't truly value, you know? So that's just some examples of what I would do. So it's always an interesting question. Tater, you got something else?
Well, I was just saying, you know, I just thinking this time, us people that are on the road a lot, I think we're definitely learning some of that stuff now, maybe a little late being home this much. So, you know, I think when I was younger, you know, all you was thinking about is the next tour, the next tour, the next tour, and wishing that one would be done with, you know. And now I look back as, why was I wishing my time away, you know? So I'm learning new stuff every day, being home every day. So
yeah. So what do you guys, as part of that, like when you were 18, what do you consider was like your first big break? Like what was your thing where you were like, oh man, I made it, you know, or I got to mix a show for the first time or whatever. Is there any of those kind of moments in your life? Maybe it's getting hired by Waves. What is that moment for you guys?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, I think there was a few moments like that where it was a very, I could see that something has changed, and it was probably early on at that AV company, you know, getting to really plan a whole project on my own was like, I'm going to do that, and you know, it's working. Wow.
I've had moments like that in my life too. Like, holy shit, this worked. Wow. I got everybody fooled.
Well, there was a moment, you know, I remember that we've kind of wired this whole huge building with tons of equipment and all that. And I got, okay, now let's test it. Let's power it up. And I was like, we forgot the power strips. So, yeah. So I think there were moments like that, and I think with LV1, I had a couple of moments where I was like, wow, this is a really great show that's being mixed on that thing. That was, an idea, a crazy idea a few years back.
Right.
Seeing it come to fruition, yeah.
Yeah, and I had the fortunate or misfortunate event of being in a show that had a glitch with LV1, which is like, and but it was something that rattles you and makes you think and we need to improve and make it.
You got to have those to move forward. There's no doubt
Yeah,
about it.
Yeah, you definitely have to have those moments.
We've all
How
had.
about you, Noam? Any moments where you were like,
I'm just thinking about this. I recall not a particular point in time, but a period where I was making it in a way. After many years of being asked by my parents, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yes.
I actually owned a studio and was flying touring all across Europe with a European band mixed in front of house. And I felt like, okay, this is getting somewhere. I'm actually, it's okay for me.
The checks are clearing, yeah.
For the first time, I was waking up doing what I love, and at that stage, the questions were fading out. So it's like, okay, that's what you do. And that's after some time of getting those type of questions floating around every morning. So at that stage, I think I was 25, pretty young, I think, for what I did. And besides that, I think one of the moments when I decided not to mix anymore, and I actually remember that day, and that was I even asked Pooch. We were together in Las Vegas, and that was a morning where I actually decided not to do it anymore, or take a break and maybe sometime get back to it. I did a few shows afterwards, but yeah, that's the two
big moments in your lifetime.
On a personal level, obviously the birth of my kids were like special moments.
Of course.
And I can say that there's another special moment, that moment where they realize they really don't need those diapers and they can do everything on their own. And they start to tell you that, no, wait, I'm doing it. I'm climbing this chair. I'm, doing whatever is needed. They're doing everything.
That's awesome.
Those moments are really, really special.
Enjoy them. They go fast. They go real fast. Enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, we've kind of come to the end here, and we are so honored that you guys came on. I am so grateful to call you guys friends. The rest of you out there that are watching this, you need to know these two wonderful people. Noam and Yaniv are passionate about what they do, and Noam has a real knack for communicating with all of us sound guys about what our needs are in regards to waves, and so get to know these guys any way that you can. So thank you very much for coming, guys. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
Right on. Hey, let's talk a little bit about next week. Next week on Wrong End of the Snake is Janine J9 Edwards. Janine is one of the most sought after tour managers and tour accountants. This is her 29th year of touring, and she's worked for bands like Jane's Addiction, Alanis Morissette, Maxwell, The Three Tenors, Marilyn Manson, Puddle of Mud, Christina Aguilera, Justin Bieber, Def Leppard, Van Halen, the Doobie Brothers, X Japan, Joe Walsh, and Melanie Martinez, to name a few. That's going to be a lot of fun talking into J9. Both Tater and I have done several artists with her, most notably we did Puddle of Mud, and I think Jane's Addiction. I did Jane's Addiction. Did you do Jane's Addiction? I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, we've both worked with her. She's amazing. So that's next week. Guys, Noam, Yaniv, thank you again.
Thank you so
We sure
much.
do appreciate it. Guys, I hope you enjoyed hearing from these guys, and we look forward to more stuff that's coming from Waves. All right, guys. See